What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Evening Alpha. I am excited because today we have a really special guest. We have BEK from Savage Dogs. Before we jump into the conversation, though, I want to tell everybody, if you're new to the program, if you're new to this, you might be saying, what the hell is this? Evening Alpha, I've never heard of it before. Well, we actually do things a little bit different. You are not going to hear any clickbait crap here, right? We do not do shows like the 5 top NFTs to get now. Like, that's just not the thing we do. What this is it's a founder talk. I run a project called Adult Fantasy, and what we do is we reach out to other founders in the space. It is a chance for you guys to get to know us as founders, get to know an awesome new project, and more importantly, get to know the real person behind it and the real, to really understand what it takes to launch a project. Because outside looking in, we see stuff and it just looks so simple, right? Like, don't you just like throw some images together and like run it through an algorithm and boom, you got $1 million, right? Like, no, it's way harder than that. So this is a chance to really understand and really learn and kind of peek behind the curtain of what it actually takes. So with that said, BEK, man, welcome, dude. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man.
It's so fun.
Absolutely, dude. I'm dying to learn more about this project. So tell me about Savage Dogs.
Savage Dogs, the way that I'm stating it right now, because as you know, these projects tend to change and evolve over time. But the way that I'm referring to it is it's a universe of characters and stories born in Web3. That's the way that I try to simplify it. And the reason I say it that way is because I'm not married to a specific format, and I'm trying to tell stories and make people familiar with new characters, and I'm trying to build my own little Star Wars universe. So that's starting out with a graphic novel that it's divided into 6 comics. It's been growing slowly in the NFT space with different collections, but now like the storytelling part is in this graphic novel. And then we're going to move on to different formats. Who knows what? Hopefully we'll get to make some short films and series and stuff that I'm really excited about. But that's kind of like the basics of it.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, I noticed from your site, like you seem here. In fact, I'm actually going to share this for a second because I'm curious about this. Let me stop sharing. I'm going to share something else. So awesome website, by the way.
Thank you.
It's super clean. It's really nice. And you had me on the comics because I'm a comic nerd. If you can't tell, if you didn't know, I'm kind of a comic nerd.
I can see.
A little bit. My background, I used to work for Marvel, and I've worked at Cartoon Network as an animation director, and I've worked in technology, so I've been around. And one of the things the thing that popped out the most to me was one, that you were doing comics, 2, that the comic style was pro, and then when I saw that it was Ariel Olivetti, I was like, okay, I have to talk to these guys. I was like, okay. So a couple of questions I have is so do you have a background in comics, or like how does this, like how did you kind of put this together?
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't have a background in comics. My background is that I enjoy them. I like them. I like the format. I think it's super special. Like many of us, I grew up reading them, and they were my introduction to fantasy and sci-fi alongside with movies, right? And the way that I think about it is very practical. I want to tell compelling stories and characters, and I cannot make a movie right now. But I can make a comic, and I think those are different formats and lend themselves to different types of storytelling, right? It's not the same. You cannot tell a movie on a comic or a comic on a movie. You need to write for that,
right?
So it's been a training for me to change my mindset from saying I'm writing a script for a film that I want to make to writing a script for a comic that I want to make. but I've been learning the process, and it's been really fun to do it. But basically, I started thinking this idea of creating the graphic novel, and I started working with an artist. He's called Herman. He's the lead of a project called Crypto Geishas, and he's an amazing comic artist. He's been doing that way before NFTs. And I was super happy about doing the comic with him because he really understands space. He also understands comics. He has a really good style, and we really clicked creatively. But last minute, kind of like right before starting the project, he got contacted by some amazing writers. They were doing a book. They wanted him to illustrate. And he was like, man, I love Savage Dogs, but I've been chasing this for a long time. So I need to do it. I was like, yeah, you need to do it. Just go and do it. I'm going to figure this out. And I'm an illustrator. So the idea of making it myself always was a possibility. But I've been struggling with this thing of when you do everything yourself, you don't get any of the creative input from other people, and it starts to feel a little bit too close. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I needed to work with someone else because I didn't want to have only my voice. I wanted to have something that felt broader. So I started reaching out to artists that I like, just asking, hey, are you interested in illustrating something with my scripts? And I was kind of like bummed because I didn't get much response from the people that I was reaching out to. And I suddenly popped into my head that I had this illustrator that I was a fan of since I was a kid, which is Olivetti, right? He made the first comic that I ever read that blew my mind. It was El Cazador. I don't know if you know it, but it's like an Argentinian comic.
I've seen a little bit. I don't own it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
It's super violent and graphic, and it was kind of like I wasn't allowed to read those comics because they were so violent and had sex in them and everything. So it was kind of like a thing I did in the darkness. And I grew up really loving his work. I went to the places where I knew he was going to be to buy his books and everything. So it was kind of like a long history of being a fan. So in between my reaching out to artists, I just emailed this guy, and I was, hey, this is the reality of the situation. I'm a huge fan. I know the brands you work with. I know you work with Marvel, with DC. I know you're super busy, but I have this project. I have my life on this project. This is everything to me, and I want to show it to you. I want to see what you think about it. He responded. He was interested. We started talking. I showed him the character design and where everything was going, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So that was pretty insane that he suddenly was on board the project, and it became this mind-blowing collaboration with someone that I really admire.
That's really cool, man. And you got super lucky because like you said a few things. Like the first is when I was a kid, that's what brought me to comics. I mean, the reason I went in, I was hardcore comics until I got my animation job. And the reason I got the job in animation was because I graduated college right when the market crashed in the late 90s. Oh. So I graduated and the market tanked, and I was like, okay, like, okay. But the thing that drew me to comics and still draws me to comics is that you don't need to have $150 million budget. You just have to have this up here, a piece of paper and a pencil and some skill. Right. And the skill is something you could just learn if you really work at it, but you can make the biggest blockbuster movie. You can make the biggest movie where nobody could ever afford to make it. You know what I mean? Like galactic wide. And all you have to do is just use your brain, Yeah. And I was always attracted to that. And you got really lucky, I think, because the other thing that I find fascinating, and this is something I think it's because we're so early in the market, so early in NFTs, where, especially with illustrators and artists, and you see this in the gaming industry too, but there is still so much defensiveness and sort of like, and so much fear and like, I mean, I have seen things, you know, people get offended, like, so it's amazing. I think it's amazing that one, he responded, and two, he was like, yeah, of course, put my real name. Like, there was no pen name. He was like, this is me. Of course, it's my art. You know, maybe he doesn't know some of the backlash that the stuff gets, which is insane. But
he does. And let me tell you a little story that,
yeah, please,
might illustrate this even better. He got his work stole and sold as NFTs. I didn't know this. I found out this when we were already collaborating. And the fact that knowing that and having that experience, he still wanted to make the collaboration and do the work, to me is even more relevant. It's like, this is awesome. This guy really wants to make this, even though he had such a bad experience with NFT. It's like the worst type of experience you can get with this.
Yeah. And it's, I kind of preach it from the hilltops. I use my little, you know, wannabe stand soapbox to stand up and be like, you know, I've worked with artists for decades, and I've mentored founders and entrepreneurs and been an advisor of startups and been an advisor of tons of artists. And the intrinsic problem that artists have, that fear or that thinking that I can't get my work out there, or that nobody is going to pay attention to my work, or nobody can buy my work. It doesn't apply to NFTs because it's a completely new realm. I had someone, I don't know who it was, nothing personal. Someone on Twitter was like, some artist on Twitter was like, NFTs are just for rich people. And I was like, well, you know, of course, first, that's not true, right? But I wrote back and I said, if you think that's true, then great. You should sell something to them. Like, all this whole woe is me and this poor man attitude, this poor person attitude is like, you don't have to have that anymore. You know, build your audience, push it through a brand new medium that's going to be here forever, and open the gates up to having the ability to actually like have a career, you know? And it blows my mind how all this complaining or all this sort of like self, you know, I don't know what you call it, like a
limitation, maybe.
This limitation, yeah, it's a limitation mindset. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you hand it to them on the opportunity on a silver platter, and they're like, well, no. And if you do it, you're a bad person too. You know?
Yeah. The shaming others is the thing that gets me the most, because you can choose not to do something yourself if you don't like it, if you don't believe in it, if you are misinformed for some reason. But if you see people that it's been struggling for years trying to make money out of the craft, and suddenly they get a chance to do it, and they do it, and you shame them for it, that's the worst thing you can do, because you can choose not to participate, but maybe just allow these people to be able to get the benefit from the amazing things they do. Because I'm seeing like there are artists that have like millions of followers on Instagram, they don't make any money.
Right.
And that's insane.
That's insane.
Because that money is going to Facebook.
That's right.
Facebook is the one getting the money from all those followers, not the artist. So here we have a technology that you can actually get the benefits being the artist of those followers, of that people that's interested in your work. So yeah, it's a shame. I don't know. It's super new. I think people will come to the other side eventually.
I think. I don't think they're gonna have a choice. You know. Yeah. I mean, the minute I learned about the technology through crypto and through NFTs, I was like, well, this is the future. And I have, you know, I was, you know, I spent many years in New York City, and so I kind of missed the tech boom and around the 2008 tech boom that started in New York City, like when all the tech companies, I got into it, but I wasn't like day one, right? And then before that, I missed the .com boom, like that early area because I was a little younger and I didn't really, it just wasn't my time. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so I've seen this now. This isn't the third time that I've seen this, right? And I'm like, I'm not missing this. Like I'm not trying to be like 60 years old or 70 years old when the next boom comes. And I'm like, I'm not missing it this time. Like, hopefully I'll be, doing adult fantasy and just drawing comics and chilling out by that point. But like, I just think it's such a rare opportunity. And you also mentioned something else that I'm curious about. And that is, as going from an illustrator where you're the one creating the work and you're the one doing the labor and so for those of you guys out there that may not know this, like drawing comics or doing animation or doing illustration is completely isolationist, right?
Yeah.
You have contact with an editor or your client or whoever, but most of us, when we're working, it's like heads down, headphones on, and just like, either paper or digital tablet, whatever. You're just working. And so it is for oftentimes for creators, it's a little bit of a really hard jump to then say, okay, well, I'm a creator. And then, as you said, well, I'll just illustrate the book because I can do it. And then you're like, wait, if I illustrate the book, I won't be able to market, or I won't be able to do this, or I won't be able to do that. And I actually got to call this person, and I actually got to talk to that person. So have you found that to be a challenge, or how do you work through that?
I think I'm lucky that I work in the two extremes. I need my isolation and my heads down type of work, because if I don't do that, I get anxiety and I get like, I need to not be with anyone, just like myself and the paper and just work. But on the other side, I'm very social, so I need the other aspect. I need the relationships and everything to function as a human being. And I had a really fun career where I was working first in advertising, then I moved more into specific design, and I ended up working mostly on branding. And for all those career moves that I've been making over the years, I needed the social aspect to really, work at a better position. Because when you're the one heads down doing the work, you're the one who earns less.
Right.
You're the one who's not really noticed in the corporations. So you need to push yourself to be more, connected and present your work and talk about it and be smart about how you present it. So all those tools over the years got me from heads down to a more, I can be heads down and I need it, but I also need to be with the people, talking, presenting, and this type of things. So I think it's a balance.
Yeah, that makes same here. My internal creative instinct is to say, it's always the same conversation in my head. It's like, oh, we have to, we're actually redoing a website and we're building an app. And I'm like, well, I can do both of that. My background, I can do the UI UX and the I can build a website really well for the apps. Did that for years. Also, I can do all the illustration and do all the comic stuff to make it all cool. And then I'm like, but there's not enough time. So I have to. It always starts with like, well, I'll just do that. And then I'm like, no. Like I have to. You have to start handing things off. Certainly, like right now, I handle the character creation tasks on the actual card. So I'm coming up with characters. I'm kind of creating exactly what the characters are going to be. And as that moves forward, it's more and more community stuff as well, right? So we're building tools to help the community start to create their own characters and kind of take part in this whole universe. And then certainly in my head, I'm like, well, I'm absolutely positively doing at least a graphic novel or two, like 100%. But it's also going to have to be, it's not going to be like a monthly book or a bi-monthly book. There's no way, no way. It's going to be, I'll have to start it this year, and it'll like come out, you know, when it can come out, you know. But let's see, really quick. Let me pop into chat. We got some people coming in. Let's see, Bad Kitty, what's up? Hi, Bad Kitty, how are you? Happy Friday. Hype TV, what's up, Hype? Yo. How's it going? Thank you for coming. What's up, J-Raw? What's going on, y'all? J-Raw's into MMA, so he gets beat up every night.
Oh.
He said, that's so cool. He's digging Savage Dogs. That's awesome. What's up, Hero Sheep? Welcome. Hero Shep. So Dusty says, this is from Crucifor, I assume from Discord or something. He says, is the Savage Dogs comic universe open to visitation from dimension hopping hapless reptilians? I know some people.
That's nice. We could have some reptilians in.
Yeah, I think so. I think we enjoy the reptilians over here. We absolutely enjoy the reptilians. Crucifor also says the 3D model is in the comic trailer is great. What else would they be used for? We've seen a motion rig and other character models. Give us the alpha.
Yeah. So this is my disappointing answer to that question. So I think this relates to the way that I was presenting the project initially. My guiding post, like the goal, is always to build a universe of stories and characters, right? Mm-hmm. And this is starting out with the graphic novel, but obviously the audiovisual space is the space that is the richest to tell those stories, and that's the one that I want to aim for. Mm-hmm. So to me, creating the characters is kind of like creating the baseline elements for when that time comes, and the character in the comic was kind of like a proof of concept for me to make sure that we could make that look good enough to show other people that we might approach to get help from to build something bigger. It's kind of like a proof of concept internally for me and the people working with me, and externally for those folks watching from the outside, saying, oh, okay, I can actually see this being a reality. Because when you talk to people and you present an idea and you don't show anything, it's hard for them to grasp. Yeah. Like, I want to make this a movie and I want to make these characters believable, and maybe they're like, yeah, but the head is like a skull. How are you going to make that expressive? How is it going to work? Is it going to look weird when you show it? So starting to show these things, I feel it's a way to making sure people understand the vision and where it's going, and having the baseline elements to actually pursue it.
Yeah,
I don't know if that answer is good enough.
No, it makes sense to me for sure. And you got Doug Hoffman says, love BEK from Gutter Doug. That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I think you said something that made me think, and that's the space that we're in, it's so early that I think, first, I love the fact that there are more people like us hitting the space. There are more people who are interested in storytelling and Web3 storytelling and building out like last year. So we launched at the early to mid December of 2021, and there was like 2 other projects, right? It was Punk's Comics / Pixel Vault. Jenkins the Valet was out, and there might have been like one more that I can't think of, but it was really early, and nobody was talking about was talking about storytelling specifically. They were kind of doing it, kind of a top down, right? And now all of a sudden it's like everyone is coming in and they're like, no, we can build this from the ground up. Like we can come in with our ideas, and the community can come together and build it up. And we can actually, it's awesome to hear people talk about like flipping the mouse, or we're going after Marvel, or we're going after DC, or we're going to be the new Hollywood. Or
I love it.
I watch out for it. It's a little bit, I know what you're going to say, but go for it. Yeah.
it's like we have a buzzword problem that it's like metaverse is one bubble, and then you have storytelling, that's another bubble.
Yes.
And I think in gaming, it's another one. Like metaverse and gaming are sort of like overlapping. But like I don't think that most of the projects that I see will go with the ones that are saying we're about storytelling. I don't think they really are that much.
100% agree. I mean, I will say that we've actually interviewed the projects that are coming on here. There are several now. There is a group of real storytellers that are focused on it, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and I feel like you can make a comic, and it's a comic as a format.
Yep.
But there's no real storytelling in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna see a lot of that. And we're gonna see a lot of the same way we're gonna see a lot of games, Web3 games that are really like not that great. Because if you think about it, how many companies have the resources and have been making games for years,
right,
that are pure shit or doesn't work?
Well,
right?
that's 100%, man. And like one of the challenges we kind of, well, not the total challenge, but every project is faced with a roadmap question, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's your roadmap? And the interesting thing, and this is not a blanket statement, but for many of the project owners who are real producers, people who have been out there, who have made stuff and have done it for years, a roadmap is the last thing you want to put out there because things change. And the minute you put out there something, you're instantly committed to it. Like everyone will hold you accountable to that. And it can be good, but it also can be bad. And so like, you know, we've internally, like, so we've done comics, we've printed our own comics, we've done our own animation. I've done 150 commercials for years. Like, we've done our own toys. All of these are all toys that we made. Like this is,
oh, that's so cool.
These are art. Like I worked at Kid Robot back in the day and got all these connections and started making these designer toys.
That's awesome.
Right? So we've made toys, we've made apparel, like we've done all of these things, but I'll be damned if we put that on a roadmap. Like, like the first question I got, that kind of questioned, kind of like the FUD question is like, oh, you're an animator, you've been doing this for 26 years. Why is animation not on your roadmap? And I'm like, because I've been doing it 26 years. And the answer is because I've done it so much, I know what it takes, and I'm not putting it on the roadmap until we were already doing it, you know? And and to your point, it's like, and maybe this leads into another part of the conversation that I'd be interested in. It's like, you know, every roadmap is kind of the same. It's like IRL events, apparel, toys, comics, the movie, and you're like, the animated show, and you're like, oh God. Like, there's not that many animation studios out there, guys. Like,
that's it. That's exactly what I was going with this. It's that the way that I feel about many of those projects, while they might be successful on a project perspective from the NFT space, to me they feel sort of like an empty shell. Because it's branding around something that doesn't exist yet. Is we're gonna make the clothing, we're gonna make the toys, we're gonna make the animation show, but what is it that you are?
Right.
Because that's not clear. Right. And that's why I try to do it with Savage Dogs and be clear that first, there is no roadmap, because the space changed so quickly that you cannot have a roadmap, because that will be a death sentence for you and the project. And just trying to focus on what this is. This is a universe of stories and characters in different formats. We are doing a graphic novel. We might be doing other stuff later, but this is not a brand. When people talk about something as a brand, I already know they're lost because they're talking about something so big. Marvel, it's a brand, but it's a brand that was born out of something very specific, which was comics.
That's right.
They made amazing comics. They created a way of making comics that was good enough and on time so people could get the comics every month and follow the story.
Yep.
And they got bigger, and then they started doing other stuff.
That's right.
But they started being something. You can't start being nothing and say, this is the brand. The brand has a hole in the middle, and around we're going to create all the stuff.
Yeah, and in fact, to add to that, one of the things that happened to Marvel in the 90s, it's very interesting because there's a myth in comics, I believe it's a myth, that what tanked comics in the 90s was the speculator bust, meaning that collectors came in, they bought all of the comics, and they thought that it was going to go, all these comics were going to be worth millions of dollars, and when they weren't worth millions of dollars, they all left comics. And that, to me, because I came up through that and I knew a hell of a lot of collectors, is complete bullshit. But it's also, like, to this day, you ask anybody in the industry, in the space, what happened in the 90s? Oh, the speculator boom. No, that's not what happened. The speculators don't tank multi-billion-dollar companies. What tanked Marvel, what made Marvel go bankrupt, wasn't speculators. What made Marvel go bankrupt is that in the 90s, they started getting full of themselves because they had all this money from all these, Jim Lee and the X-Men and X-Force and Todd McFarlane. All this money was pumping in. And so what the Marvel heads decided to do is they decided to start buying companies. Was it Fleer? They bought a card company, like a baseball card company. They bought a distributor for their own comics. They started buying toy companies. They bought Toy Biz, I believe. Like, they bought a bunch of companies because they were going to own. They had licensing deals at the time, and they were like, well, why don't we just buy the company and we can put out whatever we want and we can make money from all the stuff. The problem that they ran into was that they realized very quickly that they didn't know how to run all of these different companies. They had no clue how to do it. And so, excuse me, they had spent billions of dollars buying these companies and everything just tanked, right? And so when they came out of bankruptcy, when they got back on their feet, which is kind of a miracle, they do what they do now, which is they just focused on storytelling again, on characters, and they let everybody else license it out. And it wasn't until the Marvel Cinematic Universe where they started actually doing that again.
Wow, that's so telling, and you can draw so many parallels with that on the Web3 space. I feel like many people think that just doing something is all you need.
Right.
Like, let's say we're making a game. We're making a AAA game. And let's say you make it, because making it is hard enough, right?
Yep.
You need to make it. But making it is just the start. What's happening after that?
Right.
What if it doesn't work? So it's like,
thank you. Like,
you make a comic, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Now what?
Right.
Because that's the thing. Making something, raising money, putting that money to work and making something does not guarantee success. That's just getting you to the baseline.
Yep. I feel, and maybe this is an age thing too. Not that I'm too old, but like, I think that there's a lot of project runners in the space that don't really understand yet the full potential of the space. And this goes for top projects as well, because what is happening is that everybody's positioning, well, not everybody, but a large number of projects take the position of, we're a Web3 company, this is a Web3 project, and we're going to build this big company and we're going to launch all this stuff. Cool. Fine. the problem is that they're forgetting, or they know it consciously, but they don't address it. And that is that our starting point for our project, for Adult Fantasy, was that this is permanent. The blockchain is forever. It is as forever as anything that we understand or have the ability to control, right? Mm-hmm. Certainly, if the planet blows up and shatters into a bazillion pieces, blockchain is probably not going to last. But assuming that doesn't happen, for the most part, in terms of humanity, the blockchain is a permanent record. Like it's going to be here for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And so if you're creating something that is going to be permanent, that is the starting point. That is the foundational element that should inform everything that you build. So when we started at that premise, like this is forever. Like this is not just like our legacy as in our lifetime. This is our kids' legacy, and this is everybody who's involved in the project's legacy. And so we started to build out this concept of storytelling and start to build tools. Like our job is to build a framework of tools so that anybody can come in and create pretty much any type of thing they want, and like whether it's a character for the Adult Fantasy universe or something else, and use our platform and the community to raise themselves up. Meaning that if you come in and you utilize the tool set and you work hard and you put a lot of effort into this stuff, if you really, really want it, there's a community of people who will support it, and you will have that baked in audience that you could never get anywhere else. And you'll have the ability, at the end of this, you know, if we have our way anyway, you'll have the outposts to create all of those different things or have access to all of those different opportunities by way of your hard work and creativity. It's the stuff that we wanted, or at least I wanted as a kid, as a teenager, as someone in their 20s, and never was able to have because Web3 doesn't exist. The closest model for me back in the day was like an Image Comics.
Yeah.
Right? Where it kind of did that in kind of an analog way, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, okay, well, it's time to take that concept and like let's push it through Web3 and some other cool things that we can do with technology, and really start to open this up. You know,
one thing, it's really similar to one thing that I've been talking about with the company that helps me on the technical side of things. That's Props. I don't know if you know them.
Props?
They're really Props.
We're gonna look at that. What is it? PROPS?
Yeah. I think it's that. I don't know the website, but they're super cool, and people who's really invested in the space. And one thing that we were talking about was creating this specific contract eventually for Savage Dogs, which works like a fan fiction type of contract, where everything you create on that contract, it's already within the boundaries of the terms and conditions, and everything is super clear, like what it means for you as a creator, what it means for the company, and you get to create something, you get to see how it performs with the audience that it's already there for the brand, and then the brand can take it and not only help you push it up the level in the canon of the story, it can also spawn new stories from your new story, right? So it starts to connect and link dots. So it's super fun, like the possibilities for this space and for a project like this to grow and create something with the community. But the caveat to that I add always when I talk to the people in the Savage Dogs community is that I feel like first you need a foundation.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to lay down now. It's that foundational story, characters, and ideas, and kind of like a Bible for what that universe is. So you can jump in and you already know what to use. It's like jumping into Star Wars. You know you have lightsabers. You know that happens across different planets. You get all this.
That's right. You know the framework. it's the same thing. Like, I think one of the reasons we're kind of on that same path where we, you know, we have different game levels, and we do like different storytelling games. Right now we're focused on this thing called the lore games, which is the 30,000 foot view of the universe. This is the big milestones that would happen, right? Kind of like the fixed points in time. And we're play testing that weekly. And you have to have, at least in the short term, I think you're right. I think you have to have a showrunner, or you have to have somebody who can, or a team that can kind of at least guide it a little bit, because most people don't have the experience that we have. Most people aren't storytellers, and this is a craft. It's just like, it's like any skill. You know, you put your 10,000 hours in, and you're going to know a little bit about storytelling. And I think by starting with a foundation, and by starting with some clear points, the way that I've explained it to people in my own way is, it's very much like animation, where an animation director will draw the keyframe here, and he'll draw the second keyframe here, and the animator, it's up to the animator how that character gets from point A to point B. Like, they can do all kinds of stuff, right? There's a lot of creativity between this point and this point, right?
Yeah.
But you know that it has to go from here to here. As long as that happens, the scene can continue. We have what we need. And I think that's sort of, you have to give people a framework for this. And otherwise, you know, last year there was the Loot Project. Do you remember Loot Project?
Yeah.
So Loot Project was cool, and I was like, and it blew up. I mean, you know, of course everything blew up last year, but it was huge, and then it went away really quick. And it was because, I mean, granted, I'm sure it has still a vibrant community, so I'm not knocking the project, but one of the things that I noticed about it was that their stance was like, we don't know what it can be. It can be anything. You know, it's like bag of holding, sword +3, shield +8, whatever. Like, cool. Yeah. It's kind of all things. It was so open that the community got so excited about it because it was open, and then no one knew what to do with it because most people are not storytellers. Now there were spin-off projects, people still use it, I'm sure of it, but they're not the majority. They're not the majority. There are a few people who saw it and said, I can use that for a game that I'm making. Well, that person's a storyteller, right? Oh, I can use this for a comic that we're doing. Well, that person happens to be a storyteller. So, and it certainly inspired other projects as well, right? Like, oh, Loot did this, but we could do it better. Well, those people are storytellers. So you have to, if you just say, hey, and I see this with some other projects that, similar to the roadmap concept, they'd say, this is yours, right? And it started with the like, hey, when you mint it, you own the copyright, you can do whatever you want with a character, right? Which became, I don't know if Bored Ape started that. They certainly were early in it, but it basically took over, where everyone was like, hell, that's a selling point, cool, yes, you own it, we don't even care about it, you just do whatever you want. And everyone's like, awesome, I can make a brand out of it. And they were like, how do you make a brand out of it? Like, there was no direction, no understanding. And so I think it's so important to say, okay, here are some of the guideposts, here's the rules of the world, here are, you know, all the things you can do with it, right? And it can be as open as you want. You know, you just have to, it just has to be a very structured system so that people can be free to play as open world as they want to play, right? And there's a way for that to then move forward if the project decides that it can move forward with it, right?
Yeah.
Or if the community.
I think, like, you need to take into consideration that you mentioned now, it makes total sense. You have storytellers, but the majority of people are not on that camp, so they won't have a frame of reference. And the other part is, it's easier to jump into something where there's a community already expecting something, and that they know the baseline, and that you can jump into something, a train that it's already moving.
Yeah.
So those two things make a lot of sense.
So cool. You've got, I'm curious, like, I've got up here, like, we've got the comics, and then we've got Savage Droids and Savage Profiles and Dog Faces. Like, what are the differences? And I like the character concepts too. I thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah.
So
So
are these like different projects, or these?
they're all within the same universe, right? So the Dog Faces, Savage Profiles, and Savage Droids are three NFT collections that have different characteristics. So, for example, Dog Faces is only 100. I'm on 99. I haven't made the 100 one because I'm too crazy and I don't want to finish it. So I, you know, I can't just say this is the one. So I made like 50 of them and I threw them all in the trash. But that collection was really about collaboration with other artists. So I created a template for what the character looks like. And then I said, hey, you have your style. Don't even show it to me until it's done. I'm not going to correct it. You do your own version of this. Some of them are really close to the character. Some of them are really far away and super crazy. And they are lovely because they're this mesh of all the different art styles of people in the space. That's the Dog Faces one. Savage Profile was a different take. It was a collection that I started where I'm making these profiles of characters from the Savage Dogs universe that are all made by hand by me, and I was releasing them like every couple of days, every couple of weeks, and just creating characters for this universe, right? Just like creating the extras for my story. So if you start to see the comics soon, you'll see many of these characters appear somewhere in the comics. And it's because I have this roster of characters that I've been creating into the Savage Profiles, right?
Yeah.
That's fun. And then Savage Droids was my attempt to, because Dog Faces and Savage Profiles were selling fairly high in terms of cost. So I wanted to create something that was bigger in the amount, but smaller in price, so people can get in without having to spend a lot of money into just one PFP. So I created Savage Droids, but I didn't want to make just a PFP project that was like, yeah, here you go, this is a cheaper one, and I'll make a ton of them. So I started to think, what makes sense to create something that is affordable but fun, that has a mechanic that makes it worth it. So I worked a lot with a company on the technical side of things to create this kind of like droid workshop where you can fuse two different droids with different materials and get a better one.
Oh, cool. So like a breeding kind of thing.
Yeah. So I created different types of material. They have copper, stainless steel, titanium, obsidian, synthetic, and you can't anymore because now the collection is closed. But during the time that it lasted, you could just first you could take parts from different droids and put it in some other droid that you want. And then the second part was fusion, where you put together two droids and you get a new one that is better than those two. And it was a really fun process and experience. And we even made a website with a cool, animation to show the process where you're fusing the droids and everything.
Oh, cool.
So that fusion mechanics and the story and the droids and everything, it's also part of the story of the graphic novel. So everything is connected. Like if you go back from the graphic novel now and you start looking at the other collections, in some way or another, you'll see the breadcrumbs and you'll start to connect everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't.
Super fun.
Yeah, there's some projects out there that do comics, and the comics are nothing. It's almost like multiple different projects as opposed to just like building on that central theme. Like when did you guys launch? Did you guys launch this year or did you launch last year?
Let me see. So I started Savage Dogs around February 2021. something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like I got into the NFT space. I started trying out with some paintings that I was doing, experimenting, and pretty quickly I realized, okay, this is the technology that I like. This is the thing, like we were saying at the beginning, like I found that this is going to be huge. It's going to be the door to creating something unique. What can I do with it that like I really want to do, that I really want to build? So I grabbed these two concepts that I had that I never managed to make work. I really wanted to build a collectible company. I wanted to build like physical collectibles.
Yeah, I see that. I see that cause companion back there.
Yeah. That's something that I always loved, and I always wanted to be a part of that world. And on the other side, I was writing these stories and this universe, and suddenly it clicked that I was doing these separate things, and I could merge them and kind of like create this universe and these stories with the collectible aspect in mind. So that's where Savage Dog started. Like, it was like, I don't know, I think I spent 2 weeks just trying out NFTs, and then I said, okay, stop. I'm gonna focus on Savage Dogs. This is the thing from now on, and that was it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I saw the minute I really understood the technology, and I think back to our point of like, you know, some of the artists or creative people who don't get it yet, or who are super anti, you know, and I say this over and over. I'm like, you know, I have yet to meet someone who really despises the space who has ever actually purchased an NFT, right? Like everyone that hates it, they don't have a MetaMask. They've never bought anything. They've never traded anything. They don't know what gas is. They don't know what Gwei is. Like they're of course, like you have to experience it. And once it hits you, it hits you. And it doesn't mean it hits everybody. I'm sure there's people who tried it and don't like it. It's fine. But you definitely, when you do it, you get it. And the minute I caught on and I understood, and it took me a while. Like I'm so visual that I was looking at the projects and I was looking at the artwork, and I was like, and of course I was like, well, the artwork isn't good. I don't understand why people are buying it. Right. Like I was like, these guys are amateur artists. Like I don't understand why people are buying. And it took me a long time to really understand it and really get it. And
I still don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know some of the projects, but like, but it's really like same. Like I'm a lifer. Like there's no way I'm leaving the space. Like forget it. It's everything. I think as a creator, it's everything you could ever dream of.
And I come from, like you do, like we come from spaces where we've been in corporations, and I've been in the machinery of creating under the umbrella of someone else, of a company, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I enjoy my time doing that. But honestly, there's nothing compared to the freedom of making your own thing and creating your own community, and like do a project that you really stand behind. And honestly, this is the only space where you can manage to do that right now.
Yeah.
You can do it outside, but you will be screaming into the void because there's no one there to hear you. So I think it's a very special place, and there's a lot of smart people in it. And just, it's worth it. It's worth getting into it and trying it and exploring it for sure.
Yeah. And you can always grow on it, you know, like again, this stuff is here forever. So if you just stick with it and you focus on it, you know, I mean, and I do think we have kind of an unfair advantage, like people like us who have come from the traditional arts and have done well or had a professional career in it, because it's, and I think because a lot of these founders are young, or this is their first thing they're ever trying to do, or they're not used to the grind. They're not, you know, there's a lot of different factors that this type of project takes. But for people like us, it's I think easier for us to say something like, we're in this for life, or Like I have no problem saying that like I'll easily be in it another 25 years. Easily. Like as long as I'm able to walk and move and God willing, right? Like it's easy for me to say because I've already been in it 26 years. You know what I mean? Like I've already been doing this 20 plus years. This is just adding a level of ownership and ability for sharing the work to a broader audience in a way that wasn't available before. So if I was toiling away on my own for 25, 26 years with very few people, right? And really just kind of grinding it out, like why would I stop? Right. And it's not more work. It's the same. I mean, it's the same amount of, sun up to sundown schedule that professional artists or illustrators or people that are creatives have had. If you're really a creative, you are grinding from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. And that's just life, man. Anything shorter than that is probably a hobby. So it's just like,
I agree. I remember saying several times how lucky I am to have caught this moment in history at this age, at this point in my life.
That's right.
Because I feel like if I got it at my 20s, I feel like I might have missed the chance of doing something of value. Because I was interested in other things. I feel like it's the perfect time for me after doing my career, doing everything that I wanted to try, learning everything that I needed to learn, landing into this place where I can like use it as a platform to build something that I want. It's just magical.
It really is a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then you've got the comics, you've got 3 different collections, and I like the idea of this character concepts where they're one of one pieces, right?
Yeah, so those were born not as NFTs. They were the actual. So when I started working with Ariel Olivetti, he needed to know how the characters will look like. So I had all my sketches of what the characters look like with my style. So what I said was, let's do something. Let's create character sheets for all of these characters with your style, and let's recreate them with your own ideas, because it's not going to be the same if you have to draw something that I created absolutely completely on my own and you have to copy them and pose them. So he has a sense of authorship of the characters that it's different from the one he will have if he just had to copy mine.
Right.
So I created the character. I specify how he acts, how he feels, how he looks like. But then we made these character sheets so he could reinterpret them. And once we had them, we used them for the graphic novel. So it's basically a process of creating the graphic novel that we ended up saying, oh, this looks super cool. Why don't we just create a collection out of them? Because it's a shame that no one else will see it.
It's a pretty cool idea. Yeah, I like it. It's a cool idea for sure.
So it was like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, let's just do it because it's a shame. It's on my computer, on your computer, but no one else has seen it. Like, let's do it as a collection.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really. I saw that you did that, and I was like, oh man, that's such a good idea. I was like, that's so smart. It's so smart. So you gotta drop. You have something. My brain is farting. Like you got it on the 26th, right? May 26th.
Yeah, May 26th.
What is dropping May 26th?
It's the first comic of 6. So this
one.
Yeah. So the graphic novel is 6 comics of 20 pages each. That gets you the 120 pages graphic novel.
That's a legit graphic novel.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
That's a real graphic novel, man.
Writing it has been both a blessing and a challenge. It's the most challenging thing that I've ever done in terms of storytelling, because I created a lot of commercials and branding for companies, and storytelling is always a big part of that.
Yeah.
But
But this is about 119 more pages.
Yeah,
you got it's about
exactly.
119 pages more of script. Yeah.
And you have a character that needs to have an arc, and they need to grow, and you need to show something interesting, and a story needs to carry, and it needs to be fun, but it can be all over the place, so you need to focus. So it's like so many things that you need to do if you really care for making something that it's interesting. And I don't know if it's gonna be, but what I can say for sure is that I'm busting my ass off, just really trying, really going for it, and trying to make appealing characters, a sense of story that it's larger than it actually is. So you feel how it can grow beyond this. And it's really fun. I think it's gonna be a cool experience for people reading the comic.
So is this going to be you've been working on the graphic novel and you're releasing them as 6 issues. Is this going to be a monthly drop or is it bi-monthly?
I haven't yet defined how often I'm gonna release them. The truth is that they're gonna be done super soon. It's like number 1 to 3 are already completed. I'm working on 4, and it's like next month or the other month we're gonna have the full graphic novel. The way to release it is yet to define, honestly. For now, it's comic 1. We might do once a month.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, sorry.
I understand.
Yeah.
Screw you, Siri.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess we also want to see like how the market reacts, and like, you know, all those variants that you need to take into consideration. But we'll see how often. Hopefully once a month is good.
Now, was Ariel doing this monthly? Or was he kind of working around his other obligations, or was he like just full time on this?
Yeah, he's full time on this, and that's the super cool thing about it for me. He's pushing like a new Spider-Man book, and he's like,
dude, that's so cool.
And when we were talking about it, he was telling me, I don't want to do other stuff because it's kind of like I can't focus enough. So I wanna focus on whatever I'm doing. I want to do that. So he's actually the one pushing me to get the scripts ready on time, because he's so fast and so good, and he's like, okay, here are the 20 pages, give me the next script now. I need it now. I need to start now. I'm like, oh my god, I'm half through it. I haven't figured out yet. So yeah, it's really helpful to have him like really committed and making this the number 1 priority. And you can really tell about the amount of detail and craft in drawings. It's lovely.
That's really amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially to pull a pro, like I said, and I'll go back to that. That was the first thing that kind of stuck out. I was like, because I recognize the name and I know the work, and I was like, oh, that's it. It's been amazing for me because there's like multiple levels in NFTs, right? Like first we talked, and everybody has the roadmap, and I don't know why, but everybody has comics on the roadmap.
Yeah,
everybody. And so maybe it's low. They think it's low hanging fruit. I don't know, but
yeah,
I was like,
I think so.
That was the very first thing where I was like, are you kidding? Like, if every single team makes a comic based on what they're talking about, then we have a brand new comics revolution. Bar none.
I mean, I hope. I mean, it will be. Here's the thing. I know it's not gonna happen. You know why? Because there's projects that they don't have what to base it on. It's like not disrespect to Yuga Labs and the monkeys, all good, but they're monkeys, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna make comics of the monkeys. Yeah, but how many jokes about the NFT space can you put into a comic and still be an enjoyable experience?
Yeah.
I don't think jokes and references are enough to make a compelling story. So I think that only the projects that really have a baseline of a story they want to tell are going to be the ones who really push it and make it happen. I really hope they do, because we will have a revolution of comics that we haven't seen in like 20 years, and that will be lovely.
Yeah. And just the level of talent, and you know, like I said, there's this general thing where it's like everyone thinks they're going to do comics, and then the comics that are coming out are really good. Like some of them are really good, and I'm hoping, you know, I think it's like teams like ours, like we're not going to be one-off. You know, it's not like, oh, the comic was on our roadmap, here's the comic, okay, next thing. Like we're actively, this is going to be a forever thing. We will always have some kind of comic, whether it's digital or print, or I hate the term, but digital, whatever they're calling it, where it's like digiphysical, whatever, like fidgetical. I don't know. It's so stupid. Like whatever, the combination of both print and digital, you know, like the physical stuff. It's always going to be there for us, and I really think seeing stuff like this, where it's, you have someone, you know, you're a pro, he's a pro, you're pushing the books out, even if it's 100% digital, which is totally fine. Like just the fact that you can say, yeah, there's going to be 6 issues is completely different than most of the other stuff out there. Completely different. We're saying, no, this is a graphic novel. It's broken up into 6 parts. This is story 1, I assume, of many. Like this is, it is setting the stage up for what can really be the next step in character development and franchise development and storytelling. And I think that, to me, that's awesome.
Here's the biggest difference to me is, if you're making a AAA game and you say comics are on your roadmap, I'm positive that you're not doing any of it. How comics is all that I'm doing. This is all my focus during the entire year. And I'm not starting anything. I'm not starting anything until I finish this graphic novel.
Right.
Because this takes a huge amount of work. And to promise that comics are just a spot in your roadmap among this massive amount of things just tells me that you're either not you don't know what it takes, or you're gonna make something that it's forgettable. It's like
it's a tchotchke. It's a it's a tchotchke. They just share our comic. Here's our comic. Okay, buy our other stuff.
So that's why I'm not serious about that. I care about the people that's doing like you're doing, or like Huxley is doing, where it's like people who you see as like, we do comics. This is what we do. Right. We might do other stuff, but this is what we do, right? So that's what I care about. I have respect for that.
That's awesome. We got let's see, in chat we've got Mastiff. What's up, Mastiff? How are you? He says, love the conversation. Every entrepreneur's dilemma. 100%. What's up, man? He says, Olivetti art is phenomenal. DD final-ish. Yeah, Daredevil. Yep.
He's done so many amazing comics. It's incredible.
The more pros we get in, the better, you know.
And
it's a oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I think it's cool that when you get people that's from the outside and they get to work with the space, and they start to see the benefits outside what they're doing, because we make the comic partnership, but now he's getting the rewards from the other collections, like the character concepts.
Right.
He got like a percentage of that sale because it's part of his work, right? And I think that's cool, because suddenly they see how that can be lucrative and a space to be free and create, and that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Dusty says, I see holding a Savage Droid entitles you to the first issue of the graphic novel. Does it get you access to free mint all 6 issues?
I don't know yet. I haven't defined that. We'll see.
Good
Maybe.
Question.
We'll
Great
see.
idea, Dusty. That's awesome.
Yeah. We'll see. Probably, yeah. What I've been trying to do this entire time is being very thoughtful of the people who's buying into the project, and that they're putting money, investing, and they want to be a part of it. So I'm trying always to give them back. So for example, for the comic, anyone that has a Savage Dogs piece, whether that is someone who bought it now or the first one that got that piece in February 2021, they got the right to mint the comic for free. So it's like, it's trying to get people something back, because they're giving me the ability to continue to build. So yeah, if it's not that, it will be some other mechanic, but it's like you're always gonna get it if you are part of the community. So
yeah, we for our Adult Fantasy Season 1 Genesis holders, we are trying to like treat it almost like a golden ticket, where just as many amazing things from now until when they're always going to get something from it.
Yeah.
Abel says, "Fuck Theos," by the way.
Oh man,
I don't know what that means.
Well, Theos there's 2 factions in the Savage Dogs universe. There's Theos, which is kind of like the Google going bad. And then there's the community, which is kind of like the rebels from Star Wars.
There you go.
Yeah. There's a little bit of tension between the 2 sides in the community right now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good. Community tension is great. That's awesome. All for fun. Well, BEK, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, and Savage Dogs is awesome. I'm so excited by this project, man.
Thank you so much. It's been super fun, and I love your project. I've been seeing the illustrations. I love it. I need to get more into it. I've been a disaster as a collector lately because
you run a project. It's the same thing. Yeah, me too.
But I enjoy it. Like, I want to read the Huxley comics. I want to see your stuff. I want to get into these other things that I know they're cool, but I don't have the time, and I'm like, I'm done. So, but I need to take some time to get into this stuff because it's super fun.
Yeah, I know, and it's growing so quick, man. Everything is. There's so many cool projects coming. It's amazing, and it's also like, man, how the hell am I ever gonna keep tabs on all these cool things?
It's impossible.
It's not possible. Yeah, not possible. Yeah. But brother, thank you so much, and to everybody who joined us, thank you as well. This has been fantastic. Go check out Savage Dogs. It's savagedogs.co. So savagedogs.co. What's it on Twitter?
My Savage Dogs.
My Savage Dog. So go check it out. Subscribe, all that good stuff. We're definitely going to keep tabs. We're also we'll talk offline as well. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. We will see you again next time. I think we're going to be usually we do an after party and we do games. Usually it's later at night. So check with Dusty, and we'll check in Discord and see what times that stuff is happening. But thank you again, everybody.